I got stuff for you.
Holy moly. I need to get some snakes and release them around my house.
But they love eating people. They love eating kids.
These guys are the scientists of the supernatural, lecturers leaving lessons for inquiring laymen. They are applying the scientific method to a world that baffles science. They are the cryptids of the corn.
Every day that you open your mouth,
I know, right?
I'm more convinced that you're abducted by aliens.
No.
And it just stood up. I mean, it just like kept going and going. And she goes, what the?
These are idiots.
I was laughing reading this because I already knew how you would feel.
Idiot. What part of the story fits your balloon?
Well,
This isn't a UFO. But who else has big black wings and red eyes?
Batman.
Well, Mothman.
Oh yeah, Mothman.
Well, everyone, I think we know exactly what it is. So say it all with me. It was the sandhill crane.
Would you try it?
No.
You wouldn't eat it?
No.
Why?
Because they're probably toxic. There'd be a lot of poop in my pants. Seen a 6-foot alligator go swinging through the air, slam into a tree. Welcome back to Cryptids of the Corn podcast. I am the great and powerful Mystery!
And I am J Clone 70.
I was hoping you would go like real quiet.
I was gonna be like a
Hey.
henchman sidekick.
Hey, welcome back. I'm
Yeah,
Clone 5.
Oh, hi guys.
Oh!
Mickey Mouse version.
Mm-mm. Oh gosh, this is gonna be a biblical episode. Do you remember what it is?
Biblical,
Mhm.
like that quote I just read you.
Yes, except more accurate.
Oh, okay. Go on. Do I know? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I told you last week what it was, but you never
That's last
remember.
week. You expect me to remember something last week?
Before get rocking and rolling, live shows. You guys heard last week. We have a bunch of live shows coming up. Tickets are selling. Get your tickets. Come meet us in person. I'll probably have. I know for the Arkansas one, I'll probably have not exclusive T-shirts, but the first time we're offering like new design on T-shirts, and I 100% will have new T-shirts for the June live show in Ada.
Yes.
So,
Arkansas in April, June in Ada.
mm-hmm. Check them out. It's some amazing people. You heard it all last week on Wednesday. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Cons. Our next con would be Frogman.
Mm-hmm.
Come out and see us Frogman in 2 days. I have a limited number of books available because I'm not going to order any until after Frogman, just because I think I have enough to get through Frogman. But I'll be happy if I don't.
That'd be nice. Yes.
Because
Buy your book in person. Get it signed by Mr. E. He'll draw you a jellyfish.
I think I'm down to 30 books and out of the case.
Oh, all right. Good
Which
deal.
there was a lot of books in that case.
Yeah,
which
I know.
I didn't realize until looking.
That we're almost
Yeah.
through them. Hey, that's great news.
Yeah, because I send out a couple every week, and you just don't realize like.
Right. How
Yeah.
much it adds up at the end.
So it's awesome. Thank you guys for supporting the book. Cons. As of hearing this, you have very, very little time to send me Hometown Legends stuff. It may be too late, but if you got something that's really killer, just try. Try to get it into me. I think that's pretty much it. I can check. You talk for a minute.
Just remember, check out flavorsforest.com/corn and get you the latest and greatest, newest, and tastiest flavors from Flavors of the
And?
Forest. And what?
If you want to take a kid fishing or get involved,
Oh, well, yes, that's the other one. Yes, and if future anglers of Indian Lake or future anglers of Ohio, please join. I guess I don't know.
you can get on the Facebook page. You can support them various ways.
Well, yes.
The easiest way to
is it
get
an
more-
organization?
Yeah.
That's where I was. Okay.
The easiest way to get more information and get a hold of them is through the Facebook page.
Yes.
Junior Anglers of Indian Lake, Ohio.
Yes. Take your kid fishing. You know, they raise a lot of money and
Do
get
amazing stuff with kids.
and get some equipment, fishing poles, tackle box, everything you need to fish. This is a great place to start learning and to teach the future of fishing.
New Patreon members, real quick.
Yes.
Jennifer, welcome.
Welcome, Jennifer.
Frederick, welcome.
Welcome, Frederick, to the Corn Cult.
Avro, Elvro,
Alvaro. Welcome.
Richard,
Richard. I wonder if that's the same Richard from this morning.
maybe. Shield Maiden for Christ.
Shield Maiden for Christ. Welcome to the Corn Cult.
Anthony,
Anthony. We got a lot of new Corn Cult members.
And Nate.
Nate, welcome, all you new Corn members.
I
Please.
haven't done it in a couple weeks.
Okay. Well, enjoy yourselves. Enjoy your time in the cult.
Yep.
May it be wonderful.
All right. You
May
ready?
we all ascend to higher places.
What is, so it's a biblical to start out with.
Okay.
Very biblical this episode. What is a biblical monster from the Bible you can think of?
The Leviathan.
Yes.
Okay.
Today's episode's all about
It's like the monster.
the Leviathan. Leviathan and Behemoth are a pair. We'll
Wait.
do a whole Leviathan and Behemoth from the Bible.
Oh, Leviathan, comma, Behemoth.
Yeah, they're a pair.
I thought you were like lumping them into one thing. I'm like,
No,
that sounds
the
absolutely terrifying.
yeah, Leviathan in the Bible, and then Behemoth is another one from the Bible. We'll do eventually, because they're a pair. Now we'll talk about some Bible passages with them. We'll talk about some real life sightings. We'll talk about what I think it could be, all that stuff.
Mhm.
We're gonna start with the Bible stuff first with it, because Leviathan is used several times throughout the whole Old Testament and into the New Testament. Sometimes it's depending on which version of the Bible and the context, because sometimes Leviathan is used to signify the enemy of God's people and
Okay.
not the flesh and blood animal.
Okay.
Other times it's talking about the flesh and blood animal.
Okay.
So, meaning a Leviathan or the Leviathan is kind of the difference.
And that could all just be down the translation, right?
Yeah, it's just, so Leviathan, we'll talk about. Well, it's poetic or literal. The God's illustration of Leviathan would remain for listeners that nobody would have no power on earth, whether the natural world or man-made kingdoms, could stand up against Leviathan.
Okay.
So Leviathan was made to show that Leviathan was purposely made to show the might of God. It talks about this in the Bible. Leviathan, the creature addled to in Job 4 and Psalms 74:14, has baffled scholars and has seen to have no clear conclusion of what the beast is. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. So Leviathan appears in Psalms 74:14 as a multi-headed sea monster
Hmm.
that is to be killed by God and given to food to the Hebrews in the wilderness. In Isaiah 27:1, Leviathan is a serpent or a symbol of Israel's enemies who will be slain by God. In Job 41, it is a sea monster and a symbol of God's authority over creation.
Hmm.
So that's the one we're really going to focus on is Job, or the Job translation. This depiction varies, but is generally portrayed as a massive sea monster / dragon. And that varies a little bit too. We're going to get into some more of that. So in Job, Leviathan was created as an unkillable, unstoppable monster
Mhm.
to show the pure power of God.
Right.
The depictions vary wildly, to the later depictions being much more dragon or serpentine. The earlier depictions were almost like a mountain, a living mountain in the ocean that would spew fire just from moving. Multi-heads, this unkillable thing. It's supposed to be unfathomably big.
Okay.
When they were talking about people that would see Leviathan.
Like bloop size, we're talking?
Anyways,
Oh.
people that would witness Leviathan would kind of describe it you couldn't see all of it at one time.
Okay.
You couldn't see Leviathan as a whole creature in any given point.
Okay. So it's just way too big for your
Yeah.
eyes to
And we'll talk about,
see.
yeah, just a mountain, a living island.
Right.
Is kind of how it was described. It did not like people. This island really hated people. So you run into Leviathan in a handful of verses throughout the Bible. Many of those, Job 3:8. May those who curse the days curse that day. Those who are ready to rouse Leviathan.
Ooh.
So like calling evil upon themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Job 41:1. Can you pull a Leviathan in with a fishhook or tie down his tongue with a rope? So this is talking about the immense size of Leviathan.
Mhm.
That when people talk about, so people trying to put God in a box, for example.
Okay.
So this is a piece of God's creation.
Okay.
So you can't pull in Leviathan with a fishhook. You can't throw a rope over his tongue and hold down his mouth.
It's just too big.
That's a piece of creation.
Okay.
So this is talking about people trying to put God in a box.
Containment.
You can't even do it with one of his creations,
Okay.
let alone him.
Okay.
Kind of it's how I break down that verse personally. Psalms, it was you who crushed the heads of Leviathan and give it to food to the creatures of the desert. Psalms 104. The ships go to and fro, and Leviathan, which you formed in frolic there. So that the open ocean is the home of Leviathan. That there's areas that, even man still can't conquer to this day. People think that we travel over the ocean everywhere we want.
We don't.
No, there's very tight shipping lanes that ships still go missing. Did you just see that ghost ship recently?
No.
There was guys on jet skis out in Florida. It was the rotted remains of a cargo ship. It was just the very bottom, like the last 10 feet of the hull in the water. And it came flying past them. It seriously looked like it was piloted.
So it was still on?
No, there's no engine or nothing.
Okay, then how was it flying by?
The currents, I'm guessing.
Oh gosh.
But the guys came up to it and they're like, man, it's booking it.
Huh. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, there's ghost ships. We talked about the cruise ship that was just abandoned. Nobody knows why. It appeared in Florida for a couple days and disappeared again.
Huh. Pirates?
Huh?
Pirates? Like taking it over?
I don't know. Well, that's at that point it would be empty. It was empty when people were there and when it was in Florida.
Oh, okay. They were ghost riding the whip.
There you go. Let's see. Isaiah 27:1. In that day, the Lord will punish with his sword, his fierce, great, and powerful sword, Leviathan, and the gliding serpent, Leviathan, the coiling serpent. He will slay the monster of the sea. Let's see. Job 41. For all the verses, we can summarize Leviathan lived in the ocean, and a giant body of water. The creature was to be reckoned with. It appeared to be of an immensely large size. Keep in mind, the Bible does talk about animals like whales and such. Mm-hmm. People of the biblical times knew what whales were. That always made me laugh. We talked about that in the Porphyros episode.
Oh, yeah.
The Roman sea monster.
Yep.
Or the Greek sea monster, whichever one it was.
I can't remember, but either way, it's guarding the Mediterranean, right?
Yeah. Which is not very far from here.
No, it's not.
Let's see. Let's passage Job 41. Learn about immense size, the double-plated armor, the sharp teeth, the seeming ability to spit fire from its mouth. Job 41 says, I will not fail to speak of Leviathan's mighty limbs, its strength and its graceful form. Who can strip off its outer coat? Who can penetrate the double-coated armor? Who dares open the door of its mouth, ring with fearsome teeth, and back has rows of shields tightly sealed together. So it's talking about a heavily either scaled or armor-plated animal.
Yeah, like a gar.
Oh, there you go. And a massive jaw, massive mouth. What do you think so far? That's just a little bit going in. I always hated that the junior Bible that we got one time from somewhere just said Leviathan was a crocodile.
Why'd you hate it?
Because it was wrong.
I mean,
well, at least I grew up in a Brethren church, and we were talking about Leviathan, both in the biblical and the poetic sense, I guess, because there are other spots in the Bible that use poetically, like I said, for talking about God, like the enemy of God's people,
right,
and that kind of stuff. But everybody, I mean, all kinds of people. It wasn't a crocodile. There's crocodiles in the Bible. People know what crocodiles were.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just an easy way for the artist to help a kid
it just makes
understand.
It just makes it seem stupid. It makes the people of the day the Bible was written seem stupid.
True, yeah. Like they didn't know.
Yeah, there are crocodiles all over.
Right, yeah.
Africa, the Middle East.
They've only been around our entire existence.
Mm-hmm. So biblical theorists, some think it was a giant marine reptile, something like a mosasaur.
Yeah.
Which we don't know. Tylosaurus is one of the bigger mosasaurs that we have fossils of or bones of. I think they got up to like 60 feet long, so they were smaller than whales, but giant heads, mega predators. Liopleurodons were another massive one. Predator X is the one that gets thrown around a lot.
What's that?
It's a remnant or chunks of a fossil found of a pliosaur. Remember, there were short-necked plesiosaurs. Those are pliosaurs.
Okay.
They have the massive, oversized heads. And like sea turtle-like bodies.
Yeah.
There was one found called Predator X that, depending on who did the fossil reconstruction, some people made it like 85 feet long, and some people made it like 30 feet long.
That's quite the difference.
Chunks. But it depends on, was it the freak of nature that had the oversized head?
Mm-hmm.
or did it follow the rule of normal pliosaurs?
Okay, gotcha.
You know, if it followed the rule of normal pliosaurs, it was massive.
80 foot long.
Yeah.
If it had the oversized head, it could be 30.
Most people suggest that it was an unknown creature, that maybe there was only, it was a creature, God made one of them, or a small group of creatures. But yeah. So this is just kind of getting into Leviathan, the book of Revelations. Let's see. And so Revelations 13. And the dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw the beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear and the mouth of a lion.
Okay.
So just a massive 7-headed animal,
Yeah.
covered in spines and thorns.
An amalgamation.
Does that sound like any animal you know of?
And no, but no, obviously not. But at least it should be obvious to me. It's not.
It's not obvious. No, there is an animal that already sounds like.
Okay, all right, but I'm getting ideas though.
I'm good. Let's see. The beast is often, like I said, used to either symbolize the impressive power of God, or to show the manifestation of evil in the world. It's kind of either or.
Yeah.
Multi-headed nature, is kind of that sign of like more demonic stuff. Any questions? I mean, I'm pretty much done with the Bible side of it. There's more to this. It's just not a Bible like scholar podcast.
Right. Yeah, obviously. I've never even read the whole thing, so.
Or we can go into Leviathan in the Bible. Like, I just was hopping around on a lot of the stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I noticed. Yeah, from Psalms to Job to wherever they
New
were.
Old Testament.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
Job and Revelation is the two big ones for Leviathan.
For Leviathan, yeah. It's interesting the way they talk about it. Almost sounds I don't know, just kind of like our cryptids now. Like when we refer to something that's just so rare and powerful, like a big hulking beast or something. I don't know. It kind of fits.
So yeah,
if it was around today, if someone made this description today, it'd be like another cryptid sighting, like something weird, but big, but maybe not the size of an island. But if you scaled it down a bit, yeah, I don't know, it's weird.
No, I mean, it really is. It's just the teeth. They're trying to use other animals. I mean, like you said, with cryptid descriptions, people try to kind of look like this, but not really. That's just the closest thing I can give you that kind of look like it. So there's a lot of that with the biblical description, and this is that. A lot of that came from King James Version. And you can go and find different ones. The reptile side of Leviathan didn't come until much later.
Okay.
As far as in the dragon. Like your classic sea dragon, the long neck and the big head rising up and stuff like that. It was much more of a more oceanine beast. The people I found other places in older versions of the Bible describe the actual scales on its back were like giant round shields.
Okay.
That were just placed all over. Like there was huge ones and smaller,
Oh, okay.
And it was just an impenetrable wall. And its 7 heads weren't all in the front either.
They were just all around?
Yeah. So not like a Hydra from, I think Greek, right? Hydra's Greek.
Greek, Roman,
dragon
whoever's...
with all the heads coming out the front.
Yes. Greek. It would be Greek, because I think Hercules, right, was cutting their heads off and they kept regrowing in the movie. Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So more spread around than that.
Okay.
And there's the teeth, the mashing teeth, and then the spines, this heavily, like, the crowns of thorns on its back.
Like spines, basically?
Yeah, well, it had the giant horns, and then in between that, it was the crowns of thorns it was adorned with, which sounds to me like smaller horns everywhere.
Yeah.
So it had a couple of these
big ones.
Absolutely massive ones.
I tried looking up, it made me think of, it's from Zelda, this, like, big creature that reminds me of the Leviathan, but I searched Leviathan on Zelda, and that came up. There is something called Leviathan.
My brother is named after this creature.
Ah, really? My cousin is named
Levi?
after it. Yeah.
Yeah, Leviathan.
How'd you know his name? My cousin.
Well, I didn't. I was going to guess his name was Finn.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or Aya.
Yeah, it could be guess. My cousin Finn.
So let's talk about a sighting of an absolutely massive creature from 1903.
Okay.
And we'll get into some other stuff. with Leviathan are massive sea creatures. Because I think when we're talking about Leviathan, we're talking about, I think there are tons and tons of sea monster type animals or creatures, beings. I think Leviathan and others that have similar descriptions are a whole different ballgame.
Okay.
When we're talking about the absolute immense size and power, it's a whole different thing than the big sea monsters, like the big long necks, the plesiosaur. You know,
Right.
which I think they all exist. I think they're just different things. So calling a giant pliosaur that may be alive today a Leviathan is probably incorrect.
I would imagine so, yes. Not mountain size.
Yeah, this is supposed to be a creature that, like I said, with the Leviathan would end up on the shore, whole cities would disappear.
Mm-hmm. I just thought of something, though, if it's in the Bible or not. Last Bible question. Is there any talk or thing of it being defeated, of it being destroyed?
God kills it at the end of time.
He did? Oh, at the end of time.
Yeah. Leviathan,
So no, he hasn't been defeated yet.
Leviathan is supposed to rear its head. That's supposed to be, depending on which biblical scholar you're talking to.
Okay.
That's one of the signs of the end times, is Leviathan emerges again. Leviathan never went away, but Leviathan's just out in the ocean or in a big lake somewhere.
Yeah.
Destroying things willy-nilly when it comes across its territory. It hates man extremely. It has a hatred. I remember talking about this in a Bible study group. It hates man irrationally. It's kind of, that's what it's made for. To show the power of the wilderness. It's supposed to be that creature. The embodiment of the ocean and the unstoppable force of nature.
So is it like the ocean version of our land? I don't know, Fae or land?
No, the behemoth was the land version.
Oh, okay.
Which is another immense, unstoppable creature.
Okay.
They're kind of like, they're not yin and yang or anything like that, because it's the same thing.
They're yin and yin.
They're both extremely violent towards humans, and they're supposed to be unkillable. No man-made weapon can harm either one.
They're the yin, we're the yang.
But no, so depending on which biblical scholar you're supposed to talking to, Leviathan shows up before the rapture, or depending on who you're talking to, after the rapture.
Mm-hmm.
But it's supposed, when Leviathan shows itself again, it's not supposed to be good.
Yeah, it's bad. Bad news bears. I mean, anytime.
Depending on who you talk, and again, like, it's supposed to be the last meal of like the Christians or the Jewish people before the rapture. That Leviathan will be killed and then served, and they talk about that in several places in the Bible.
So we got to keep our eyes out for when
an island-sized animal moving around the coast of Africa
discovered, and they're going. Hey, we're gonna feed all these people. Yeah, it's good. We're gonna feed all these people.
God does that.
Huh?
God feeds.
Oh, okay. I thought. Well, they're doing.
Whenever you see a giant animal wash to shore the size of Madagascar.
Well, aren't they trying to play God, and that's the problem we're having right now? So yes, they will probably try to re-simulate that to show. Look. Look how powerful we are. We provide this food for all. Yeah, right.
So a harrowing encounter with a monster of the ocean occurred in the early summer of 1903, involving a number of individuals. There's Captain W.H. Bartlett, Second Officer Joseph Osteen Gray, and the rest of the crew of the cargo steamer Turisco. Captain Bucket, Bartlett and his crew sailed from Philadelphia, USA, just 48 hours earlier, and all was well and completely normal, for a while at least. When they reached a point around 90 miles off the coast of Hatteras, however, the crew noticed that the water appeared distinctly disturbed and inexplicably oily. High straightness was afoot. Now, before we continue, we'll take our little ad break, and then we come back, we'll talk about some more sea monsters.
If I were to serve a giant Leviathan, you know what I'd serve it with? Little sprinklings and dustings of flavors of the forest. Hey, we're down here at Mel's Hole, and Justin? Justin? Where'd you go?
Help! I'm falling down the hole!
You fell down Mel's Hole?
Yes, I keep falling, and I think I'm going to be falling for a really, really long time.
Oh, no. How long till you have enough time for me to get a rescue crew?
I think I do, but I'm really hungry, and I found a dead tumor seal as I was falling. But it looks absolutely disgusting. Do you have anything to help?
I think I have just the thing. Here, let me toss down a couple of bottles of Flavors of the Forest Bigfoot Breath.
Really chuck them so they catch up.
Here it comes, 1 and 2.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to eat this tumor seal now with Flavors of the Forest. Where could other people get this amazing product to cook their own tumor seal?
You can get this wonderful, amazing, tasty product at flavorsforest.com/corn. Add it to anything and it will make your food taste delicious.
And we're back. So, the crew, you ready?
Yes.
They noticed an oily sheen in the water.
Okay.
Something weird's happened. Suddenly, and rather incredibly, a group of around 3 to 4 dozen sharks were seen racing through the water, almost as if something was terrifying them and was in deadly pursuit.
Okay.
It turns out that was exactly what was going on. Can you imagine seeing 3 to 4 dozen sharks
Flying away.
and I'm guessing big sharks. They didn't say what species of shark, but
Well,
big enough to be like, that's not good.
I mean, if you notice sharks off your boat, they're probably not small.
Captain says there are very few things that really frighten sharks. Shortly afterwards, at a distance, the crew saw what first looked like a boat, possibly one that had been capsized with the bottom of the hull protruding out of the water. A boat it was not. It was much, much stranger.
Okay. Submarine?
Yeah, in
Torpedo?
1903?
Yeah, that's reasonable.
When did they start? They started making USS Bowfin was, I think, 1914.
So that's publicly, though, right?
Yeah, that wasn't a submarine. That was, what did they call them before submarines?
Submersibles?
No, they didn't dive, but they were kind of submarine shaped.
Oh, I don't know.
Because they basically trying to make ships that didn't have a big profile for cannons to shoot at.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, much stranger. That much was evidence when a huge head and extremely massive neck surfaced from the water, revealing that the crew had an encounter with an extremely huge animal of distinctly unknown and a massive kind. Understandably, the sheer size of this Leviathan can be gained from the description of its neck alone. It was said to Captain, it was thick as a massive cathedral pillar.
Okay, that's pretty thick.
So I looked it up. It depends on which cathedral, heavily. But some of the massive cathedral pillars of the day were from 12 to 20 feet thick.
It's pretty thick.
The crew tentatively and carefully closed in. They were astonished to see that the monster most closely resembled a classic dragon of ancient Chinese lore and mythology.
That's really interesting.
Now, one of the heads of the Leviathan, depending on who paints it, kind of gives it that big cat head.
Okay.
What was perceived to be nothing stranger than a legend just might have been something else entirely. It was described as being an easy excess of 100 feet in length and a width of just the head of 8 to 10 feet. The head.
Yeah, that's a pretty wide head.
It's as long as most cars.
Well, yeah.
Is how wide the head is. With a pair of wing-like protrusions on each side of its long body.
Okay. Are those, how big are those?
They didn't really say.
This is coming out of the water? They're seeing
just
this?
the head and the neck.
Yeah, and they see the wings, too.
The wings are on the side of the creature's long body, probably in the water.
Would those be wings or fins?
Don't know. The entire body was extremely heavily scaled and green in color, further amplifying the dragon-like associations. The most detailed and amazing description came from the second officer, Gray, who had a good presence of mind to quickly write down every detail down. As soon as the encounter was over, he committed this to the following papers. There was something unspeakably loathsome about the head, which was 5 feet long from the snout to the upper extremities. So from the snout to basically the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Such a head I never saw on any denizen of the sea. Underneath the jaw seemed to be some sort of pouch or drooping skin. The nose, like a snout upturned, was something recurved. I can remember seeing no nostrils nor a blowhole. The lower jaw was prongous, and the lower lip was half projecting, like hanging off. Presently, I noted something dripping from the ugly lower jaw. Watching it was saliva of a dirty, drab color. While it displayed no teeth, it did possess very long and formidable molars, like that of a walrus tusk. Its eyes were reddish brown. It was elongated vertically. They carry a very bull depth to somber below glow. So it was glowing deep, deep underwater. Like it was absolutely, when you look down in clear water, it kind of looks like things have a glow.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of like that.
Just catches the light.
Most of the body's underwater is what he's saying. As if within the concentration of all the fierce menacing spirit that rage in the huge bulk behind. Clearly aware it was being watched, this sea dragon made a menacing warning in the direction of the crew. It violently thrashed its tail in the water for a few moments. It shook the boat in a precarious fashion. Fortunately, and eventually, when the monster was done with it and satisfied that it had made its point clear, it sank beneath the waves, pursuing the sharks.
So what was its point? Just to intimidate you?
To stay away from me.
Okay.
Or maybe it's...
Like he
if it's animal, you could say, don't follow my food, don't get in my way.
Yeah.
Just posturing, be like, I'm this big, I'm big and bad.
Like dabbing on them, basically.
Yeah, dabbing on them.
That's like the modern day version.
Sure. Just awful.
Oh, but it's right. People, we got to connect. People need to understand, and that's one way, just trying to use the people's language now.
The people's language. I don't even think people still use dabbing.
What? That's not on fleek anymore?
No, neither's that.
Oh,
That's even older.
Oh, geez. No.
You're really showing how bald you are.
Don't turn my world upside down.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. It's just an illusion.
No, so this is more of a weird kind of classic dragon.
This sounds, other than the immense gigantic size, it sounds like a lot of this, some of the sea serpent
Except
stories we've forgotten.
Walrus tusk, this pouch of skin or this big flap of skin.
Oh, true.
Underneath the chin.
Mm-hmm.
And the way this guy's describing it is that I can't tell, and I've looked into it a little bit, if it's 100 feet is what's visible above the water.
Oh, gotcha.
Or if it's 100 feet in total length underneath the water. It kind of sounds to me like 100 feet is what's visible.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Talking that when it's passing by, you can see that it's much, much bigger underneath the water.
I would imagine it's what's visible is the 100 feet, because if you had a 20-foot in diameter neck and a 8-foot wide head and you're only 100 foot long, it's going to look like a...
Do you know what a Chinese dragon looks like?
Huh?
You know what a Chinese dragon looks like?
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
So I'm picturing a lot of fur on the face, too. Like that.
Or like the big whiskers that come out.
And it has you said the two giant walrus tusk and no teeth. No teeth visible.
Visible teeth, yeah. Because I was thinking this may be a filter feeder or something at first, but then the tusks, I don't know. I guess some whales, don't they have tusks and they're filter feeders?
They point up. And they're not filter feeders.
Oh, they're not? Okay.
No baleen whale has tusk. No.
Okay. I'm thinking beaked whales, huh?
Beaked whales eat. They are carnivores.
Bottlenose whales.
Bottlenose beaked whales.
Yeah. Gerald's his name.
Yep. That happened. Remember, this is a public show.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you want to hear another one?
Yeah.
And we'll get into some more modern tales of Leviathan.
Okay.
This story is from 1889. A mining engineer and prospector by the name of G.W. Height was on a trip to Madagascar in order to inspect the plantation property and found himself staying in a village of Maja. That's how I'm going to pronounce it.
Okay.
Located on the Bamasique Bay on Madagascar. One day during his stay, some of the villagers came to the height in a state of intense excitement, chattering away and fiercely gesturing towards the bay. Height, which is the guy, G.H. Height, was unable to understand the local language, but he could tell that something unusual and remarkable had happened. In addition to the fervy and pointing towards the bay, the frantic villagers also were making gestures with their hands and bodies of a massive serpent-like shape. Some other villagers nearby heard the account reportedly flew into a dire panic, with some of them falling to the ground, pulling their hair in anguish and in grief.
Hmm.
So whatever's down in the bay, the people that can understand what these guys are saying are like, oh, it's end times.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's not hard to read body language.
No. One of Haight's companions, a Frenchman named Lebel, understood enough of the language to make out kind of what the villagers were saying. After listening for a moment, told an intrigued Haight that they were claiming that they had seen a monster on the sea in the bay. According to the villagers relating the tale, they had been out fishing in a long canoe when the monster had came rolling up from below to rear its fierce serpentine head out of the water. The creature was estimated as being massive, well over 100 feet in length, with its face being as thick as a barrel, and apparently being a dark green in color, with a snake-like head and large scales, at least the size of silver dollars.
Okay.
When the terrified fishermen had tried to desperately row to shore, the strange creature was claimed to have aggressively pursued them, its long body undulating back and forth, thrashing and churning up the water violently as it went. The beast was said to have easily overtaken and proceeded to grab the stern of the canoe in its jaws, sending the four fishermen tumbling into the water. As the panicked occupants began to swim away in a mad dash, they claimed they were able to hear the distinctive sounds of wood being snapped and splintered by the attacking creature. The leader of the fishing crew then claimed that they had reached water shallow enough to stand in. He then heard a blood-curdling scream as he turned to see the long serpentine neck rearing up about 10 feet out of the water, topped with a terrible reptilian head and formidable jaws, that kicking form of one of the most unfathomable fishermen, or unfortunate fishermen. So he snatched up one of the guys.
Yeah, sounds like it.
As a horrified surviving fisherman looked on, the beast allegedly then proceeded to gnaw on the struggling man before swallowing him whole, drawn inward by some powerful suction in the serpent's mouth.
Now go on.
As soon as the man's screams were extinguished by being sucked into the depths of the beast, the thing was said to have a moment of rest before continuing for the remaining three fishermen. Luckily, they had near enough to the beach they were able to scurry onto land before the rampaging sea monster could claim them. So intent on capturing them that the creature is said to have rushed right on top of the sandbar to the point that it seemed to be in danger of beaching itself, after which it reportedly let out a chilling, bellowing sound and turned around its head to head back into the bay. It was a family member of the victim who was the one who had said such a report hysterically reaction to the story of the remaining fishermen were telling. After relaying about the amazing story to Haight and the company, a search party was organized to scout and scour the bay for any sign of the missing fishermen and or the monster that had attacked them. Led by Haight and the two other companions heavily armed with enormous elephant bore rifles, after a time of searching the water and the horizon in vain, Haight reported that one of the villagers began pointing at the bay excitingly. It was then he could make out a spot otherwise calm water was frothing and rolling. After which, an enormous reptile-like head menacingly emerged from below. The sight of the beast set many of the search party into a profound panic, and the commotion then was made to seem to draw an attention. The serpent is said to have started to approach them in an unmistakably threatening manner, again clearly demonstrating looping coils that Haight would later claim look like, for all the word, like some forbidden dragon of antiquity. Although all the men were safely on shore, the creature reportedly came towards them at full speed, only stopping when it hit the shallows, after which it thrashed and then roared and bellowed in frustration. At some point, they were able to get a good look at the lashing, raging monster. Just as the natives have described it, it was established as being no less than 100 feet in length, with a reptilian head as large as a hog shed, a huge gaping maw adored with 4 large protruding fangs, surrounded by numerous smaller teeth. So, like the other story, these 2 or 4 giant tusks,
Big ones, yeah. But this one had smaller teeth they could see.
Further back, the head was a mane of thick bristles that surmised to be used for somewhat its locomotion. The three armed men stood there in horrific fascination. For a while, the visitors cowering behind them in fear, after which they decided to fire upon it when they realized it was still crawling up the shallows trying to reach them. So the creature never gave up. It perhaps trying to launch onto the shore to pull itself onto them. All three men unloaded their weapons into the creature in unison, but rather than die or retreat, it only roared and seemed to become more agitated and determined to get at them. Several more volleys of bullets would have dropped a rhino or an elephant if it were fired into this creature with no effect, bringing them to the conclusion that its thick hide was essentially bulletproof. The men spent a further hour watching the struggling beast and taking the occasional frugal pot shots at its eyes. After which they apparently decided they had enough, where they turned around to dash into the bay, where it would dive and circle and reappear until eventually it would disappeared in the distance.
So it stuck around for a little bit.
Yeah, but it would just say like it was mad. It really, really wanted to get at these guys. Although Hite would leave the village a few days later, he claimed the monster would be seen 2 more times after he left, before going away for good.
So I wonder if... there's a lot. That was a lot. Okay. A lot of description, a lot of behaviors. I wonder if it was just sticking around like it was a seasonal, I don't know, we talk about where all those, like we just talked about recently, when all those whale sharks showed up.
Yeah.
If this was like a seasonal location where, it's getting an abundant amount of food and then these guys are in there in that spot fishing it, chased them out. I'm just trying to think from an animal point of view. I don't know, but it's hyper aggressive.
I don't know if these two things are Leviathan.
Right.
I put them in there because I didn't know what else to do with them. I love these stories.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can't pass up on a good sea monster.
But they're furry a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. That's what they
big
talked
tusk.
about. Well, they said the fur may have been used in its locomotion.
I think it was just fur.
Yeah. Okay.
Shag. I think about the Chinese dragon having the, like you said, the mustache, but even a lot of the depictions have like actual fur running down its mouth, down its back, into a mane.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of them, actually. A lot of them, though, are like the demon-looking dragon things that they parade around the cities.
Yeah. So back to maybe classical Leviathan. Excuse me. You kind of got it already for what I was getting at.
I'm sorry. For everyone that, if it helps satisfy everyone, yes, he was visibly upset when I said it.
Today is February 4th as of recording this.
Okay, correct.
Last December, I'm sorry. We did Bloop a long time ago. Bloop Part 2 a long time ago.
I think
Bloop Part 3 was Patreon.
Yeah, we've done 3.
This is Bloop Part 4.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Leviathan is the Bloop.
Uh-oh.
So when you really look at descriptions of Leviathan, kind of ignore the sea monsters, the 2 sea monsters we just went over. I added them in there for flavor.
Of the forest?
Yes.
Or of the sea? Ooh.
Of the sea.
Oh.
You should do a sea salt one.
Nelson, you hear that? Flavors of the sea.
No. So last December, so in one of the Bloop original episode, we talked about a giant, massive chunk of underwater cable going missing in Norway.
Right.
They blamed the Russians. They had no proof. It looked like it was dragged and tossed off the trench out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, last December, it happened again.
Like just the one a couple months ago, December?
Yes.
Okay.
And today is February 4th as of recording this.
Mm-hmm.
As of yesterday, February 3rd.
Oh, gosh.
It happened again.
Another one?
Same spots.
Another one.
This time it was like a giant monster was eating the cable.
Is it DJ Khaled?
Yeah. So severed undersea cables raised legal challenges for NATO, is the title of this article.
Oh, good. Down with NATO.
No, because this is like people are about to go over to war over this. Because people are blaming the Russians. Because it's in between Norway and the mainland, mainland Europe. Massive chunks of these cable keep going missing, and NATO's not quote unquote doing anything about it because everybody else is blaming Russia.
So it's probably NATO. It's either the Bloop or it's NATO.
I think it's the Bloop. We'll get to it. The operator workers doing their mooring of an undersea fiber optic cable in Arieta Beach near the Spanish Bisque village of Sanapo. This is the old one. In June 13, 2007, they had a 6,600 kilometers of cable missing.
Okay. Interesting. That's what the article says, 6,600?
Yeah. In 2017.
Okay, interesting.
So just the past couple weeks, more and more cable keeps going missing. The major of the critical undersea infrastructure located in international waters, which means would-be subduers could take advantage of oversight gaps. It was just basically, like I said, they're blaming somewhere between Norway and Sweden or something. They're blaming like Russia,
right?
Saying that these cables keep getting destroyed. The one cable is like I said, 600. That was a thinner cable of the 660 or 6,600 kilometers long.
Right.
Was like a cable you could carry, except when it's 600, or I can't do it. 6,600 kilometers long. It's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds of cable.
Immense weight.
So these cables keep going missing. Just recently, they were laying down cable. And as they were laying down, submerging the cable, a giant chunk of it was cut and dragged away. As they were doing it.
Wow.
So for submarines to do this would be very coordinated. Like,
yeah.
Because you have to get out, cut it, attach it to the submarine to drag it away, to drag it off the trench.
Or you've got tech that, none of us know about, that it's not public.
I mean, there's always that too.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, if it is Russians or some government, whatever it is, Russians or NATO, which if it's anybody, it's probably a NATO-led thing. If it is people doing this, yeah, they're probably using technology that we're not supposed to know about. So good job exposing yourself if this is it.
The end of this month of February, they plan on deploying a fleet of naval drones as a part of NATO's maritime patrol mission in the Baltic Sea to constantly survey this strategic area.
It would be interesting to see what they do if they catch anything on film. I'm very interested in this, but I'm also interested to watch it show up being some like ship that has a Russia flag slapped right on the side, and then they can just point the finger. Oh, look! Like a Russia flag is slapped over a NATO.
So yeah, we talked about this. A lot of these are internet cables and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. We'll go back and kind of re-explain what happened the first time.
Yeah.
A lot of these are internet cables, and then some of these cables are the NATO monitoring station cables for counting the submarines over top of them. Basically, what they were trying to do is lock Russia's submarine. They count them.
Yeah.
Not lock them into anywhere in particular.
But see what's going in, what's going out. Yep.
So that's kind of the problem, I guess, if you're NATO. I think it's a giant monster. So with these internet and counting cables, anybody at home doesn't know, sharks absolutely hate them.
Right.
They drive sharks absolutely nuts. They just did a horror video game about it, where it was kind of like this, except that it was attracting like deep sea mermaids. They were really scary creatures. Mm-hmm. And you basically had to stop the creatures from getting to the cables. And that's all it was about, because so many of these cables are constantly being attacked by sharks.
So it's like Missile Command, but underwater.
Also, crustaceans like lobsters are drove wild by these things. They either completely abandon areas, or they all stack up on top of the cables. And even animals like echinoderms, your giant sand dollars and your starfish, are seen to be driven absolutely wild. Well, they'll actually starve to death running into these things.
Is that true? Huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
So these cables drive everybody nuts. So originally in 2017, like a cable, what are we talking about? It was like 8 foot thick, and it was like 21 kilometers of it. Mm-hmm. Had looked like it had been gnawed off
and drug away
on two ends, and then drug off to the trench. They found the drag marks and the bottom of the ocean going for this trench. So they're like, submarine dragged this and threw it off this. No, they didn't. No person did that. Especially because it wasn't like cut. They said it looked like it had been gnawed on.
That's kind of crazy.
So now it's happening with more regularity.
Yeah.
It's starting.
Literally yesterday.
Well, yeah, literally yesterday. But between December and now, it's happened like half a dozen times. Giant cables being cut.
So it's ramping up.
I think it's driving. I think whatever is living down there These people are driving it absolutely nuts with all these cables, running too close to the trench. Most of the time, I don't run this close to the trench.
They said this was in the Baltic Sea.
Some of these are in the Baltic. There's kind of been cut around, but yeah, out by Norway and Sweden.
Yeah. No, just weird because the Baltic Sea anomaly. What's that have to do with it? Does it play a part? I don't know.
Probably not.
Either way, it's just weird stuff down there. A lot of weird stuff under the ocean, especially when we notice it.
What do you mean?
Like it's just. I'm sure it's like some things are just normal functions down below the ocean. Biology and things that. A lot of weird stuff. But when we take notice, it's like, oh, holy crap! There's a lot of weird things going on down here. Don't really make sense at all. But that happens when you only explore like 4% of something. I don't know if that number's right or not.
Roughly, it's a
ballpark close enough guess.
I wonder how, because the Baltic Sea is by the Norway Sea, the North Sea.
Okay.
The Baltic Sea is inland.
Yeah,
in between Sweden and Finland.
Right. Yeah, it's that little inlet. That huge inlet, but that's where they found something at the bottom of it. Whether it's just a weird land anomaly or no. Then I think they said it was metal. The Baltic Sea anomaly. I don't know. Either way, it's weird.
I've seen it's a pile of rocks, and I've seen it's not a pile of rocks.
Right. Yeah. What do we? We don't know unless we go down there and touch it.
So yeah, these cables are cutting across. Some of these cables are in the Baltic Sea. Some of these cables are in the North Sea, and some of these cables are in the Norwegian Sea. So that's up by the Arctic.
And all three are getting cut?
Yeah, that's between Iceland and Greenland, Iceland and Norway, and between Sweden and Finland.
Okay.
So Russia has access to the ocean right between Estonia and Finland, just a little tiny strip into the Baltic Sea. Or they have to go all the way around under the ice.
Gotcha.
So yeah, they're trying to keep this here to watch Russia, and then somebody keeps dragging this and throwing it into the deep parts of the ocean.
That's true. Maybe it is Russia. Hey, you gotta watch us do everything, and there goes your cables.
I think that this is the bloop. So in Iceland, I was trying to find it. So keep everybody at home. This is just hearsay. In Iceland recently, in the last 2 years, I had it saved, and now I can't find it. A giant chunk of a mountain on the shore was rubbed off in like one night. Nobody knows what happened. It was documented. I used to have the news thing saved, and people said it literally looked like a giant monster came out of the ocean, sat and slept in this valley, and then left. Like Godzilla-sized things.
I mean, is there just some chance there was a landslide and it just kind of
so they think it would have registered.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't a big creature have registered?
Depends. We're talking about pound per square inch.
Guess. Still enough to cause that much damage.
Unless it took it with it.
And that wouldn't register?
I don't know. I'm not a seismologist.
Me either. Yeah, seismologist. I feel like we said something about, what were we talking about the other day?
Glaciologist.
Glaciologist, yeah, those guys.
No, so I kind of wonder if Leviathan and the Bloop are the same thing, like the biblical Leviathan and the Bloop. In our Bloop Part 3, I don't even know if that one was ever public, but we talked about the giant anomaly that was seen from the Arctic coming up to Africa twice.
Antarctic,
sorry. The Antarctic coming up from Africa twice. We've talked about the Bloop signals. I'll probably do another episode of mysterious ocean signals because I just found a whole bunch more of these animal-like calls or these wailing sounds, and it's just really weird.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. So what do you think?
I mean, we still don't know what the Bloop is. You and I, we don't know.
Oh, I have ideas. We'll talk about that.
Sure, we got ideas. I'm just saying we don't know what it is. But this is something that leads to its potential existence, these cables. I mean, there's something that needs to be explained here.
So the Bloop, a.k.a. Leviathan, these multi-headed, gnashing teeth, spine, horn-covered Leviathan.
Okay.
I think I know what it is. I think I know what animal God made supersized.
What? A tumor seal?
And then Derm. Connor and Alex, we talked about that on one of the Patreon nights.
Speakers at Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree 2.
Speakers at Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree 2. I think specifically, it probably looks like a giant crown of thorns starfish. So the multi-head, so if you don't know, starfish have eyes on the end of each of their arms.
Okay.
And depending on which species of starfish, they can have teeth on the sides where their feet are. they can have multi-heads with these multi-teeth. Giant spines with the tiny spines all over.
They do, yes.
Mm-hmm. And these cables drive echinoderms nuts. So I kind of wonder if the bloop and similar creatures, these island-sized monsters, maybe an echinoderm, a giant starfish, a giant sand dollar, a giant sea urchin.
I could see that. Maybe they evolved some different things on their appendages to appear like different animals, like as an evolutionary adaptation.
Well, here's
to
the
deal
thing.
with man.
I think that could be just people trying to describe what they were seeing.
Yeah.
Because they can have eyes on the end. And like I said, they can actually have teeth-like structures on the edge of where they keep their feet on the inside. So it can literally just look like this massive eyes with these massive jaws, just gnashing of teeth.
Yeah. The other thought I had, so that's a good what's the word? Biological, I guess, grounded.
Yeah, an echinoderm the size of an island. It's very grounded.
Well, as far as being an animal that we know they exist, an echinoderm, or what was it? The starfish, a crown of thorns starfish. But I was thinking, what if they were describing? That's just the way they did. We're only able to describe like the interdimensional creature phenomena.
Oh, sure.
Where it has like different faces or can appear as different things. So maybe they're seeing different animals, but when they write about it, they kind of mash them all into one. But maybe it could appear as many different things. Kind of like how we picture, the interdimensional Bigfoot on land. It can appear as maybe many different forms, Bigfoot being one of them. But whatever that phenomena is that's causing it, this could be the water gigantic version of it. Something like that. Because, yeah, when you said like the multi-head thing made me think of interdimensional. And even like the Indian temples and stuff when they show like the gods and they have the multi-heads. And, it's like one right in the middle, but then there's other ones going out from the side. I don't know what those all represent, what that's supposed to mean, but for some reason I imagine it's like the different dimensions, kind of all, that's just a visual representation of that particular individual living in these separate dimensions to the left and right, all around us. So their heads are in all of them at once. So it looks like a multi-head, but I don't know. That's just my best way I can make sense of it. But I have no idea. Those are just thoughts that come to my head. Hopefully it sparks an idea for somebody else. Yeah, that's it for me.
All right.
As far as explaining this thing, I don't know. Interdimensional or a crown of thorns or just...
I think it's just a really big, like an unkillable size of an animal, like just an animal the size of an island.
That just wakes up every so many...
There maybe a couple of them.
Thousands of years. I don't know. Tens of thousands of years. They may be active
constantly. And we just don't know it. Like, people don't understand how much of the ocean nobody's in any given time.
Right, yeah. I don't know. I mean, they very well could be. They could just be slowly moving, and then when they get run into these cables, like, okay.
I do think there's one out there that's just eating these cables.
Something is destroying these cables.
Because the Kraken's from that area, too. And the original Kraken was described as a giant armor-plated animal that would be mistaken as an island.
What?
And then later on, they took the same word Kraken and made it giant squid.
I think... Oh, okay. That's pretty interesting.
We talked about that in our Living Island episode.
Yeah, right. But it puts it in a different perspective, though, to view this through. I think the biggest part of this story is these cables. Like, that's huge information.
They just keep going missing. And now they're like, NATO's freaking out with Russia about it.
I've never heard any of this ever on any like new quote unquote new stuff I listen to, other than what you tell me on this show. Like, I've never heard of this stuff.
I was looking up because the listener sent me it like in December.
Yeah.
And like, hey, another cable went missing. I'm like, all right, I'll add it into the big docket I have.
Yeah.
And then when I started researching it, yesterday I was like, more cables went missing. Apparently, NATO's getting ready to fight Russia about it.
I wonder though. So just last year, and this ain't a political show or nothing. There's other shows for that, but the Nord Stream pipeline, when it burst and busted, and that was a big deal. And then turns out Seymour Hersh was the award-winning Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist that broke the story. It was actually us and NATO that destroyed the Nord Stream pipeline. We blamed it on Russia destroying their own energy. Like how they get their energy, they destroyed it themselves, is what we said. But turns out it was just us, and then we lied about it. So if we're doing this and we are like the head of NATO. It's us.
Are we anymore?
Oh, yes, we are.
Okay.
No, we fund every single NATO country. We fund their military.
Wasn't Trump just talking about that?
He's trying to pull out. Yeah, that's which we should. It's none of our business. That whole thing is over. It's from what it started.
Not a political show.
Yeah, I know. Where that thing started and where it's at now is complete opposites of what they said at the very beginning. So yeah, it should be.
I'm looking at the shipping lanes in the Baltic Sea, and it's very weird. They avoid massive areas.
I wonder if there's
like they go literally down, out, and out of their way to not go through the middle of it.
I wonder if there's like, if there's reasons.
I mean, the Baltic Sea sinks ships all the time. Massive ships go missing.
It's probably why the waters are probably extremely rough or crazy.
That's the deep
there.
trench.
Yeah. So I bet there's swells and
that, or a giant echinoderm reaches a tentacle out and pulls you down.
It might be the other thing. That's what causes the bad water.
It really is. Like, it's really weird to see. There's all these shipping lanes, and they literally make like a 80-degree L around this spot.
It's like if you ever look at the flight paths around the North Pole, there's like a big circle they don't go within around the North Pole that they just every commercial flight avoids. Just odd.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's been Leviathan. I've been the great and powerful Mr. E.
I've been Jay Clint70.
We'll catch you next week, guys.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you for listening to Cryptids the Corn podcast. Remember, the best way to support the show is share it with a friend. But if you are craving more of the J clones
and more from Mr. E,
there's always extra content on Patreon
and our paid member space on cryptidsofthecorn.com.
We'll catch you next time with more exciting, fun, and informative information. Bye.